Welcome into Point Blank, brought to you by Fitz Roofing. I'm Brandon Stranger, Sports Map Houston. That's Joel Blank of ESPN 97.5 and 92.5's The Press Box. You can hear him middays. And if you haven't hit like on the video, do that. Hit subscribe on the channel, and then make sure you click that bell so you get notifications every time new content drops. We really do appreciate the support. Joel, welcome in. Big week for the Rockets. They hire former Grizzlies and Celtics GM Chris Wallace. And we've spoken on this channel about the concern of an inexperienced Rafael Stone overseeing such an important draft. And here they go, make a move to bring in a guy who's familiar with team building to oversee the scouting process. So how much better, in your opinion, does this make the Rockets' chances at making the right choices and getting good draft picks in?
It's massive, Brandon. It really is. And I think it's one of the most underrated moves the Rockets have made since Tillman took over ownership. You got a guy that has a resume, that has experience, that has built connections throughout the league, that can talk to people that have worked with the top 5 picks, that have worked them out, that have seen them in action, and can have start to work that all into the evaluation process, because it's not just the top 5 picks. It's what are you going to do at 23 and 24? How are you going to manage your cap situations? What are you going to do in terms of knowing the collective bargaining agreement and all the idiosyncrasies that are essential to being a quality general manager in this league? Stone may take credit for a lot of it, but finally they got a guy that can assist him into moving the needle and moving this franchise in the right direction.
Well, I want to ask you about what other roles he may have within the organization. But before we do that, give us a word from Fitz Roofing.
Well, we love the people at Fitz Roofing. You know, Corey and his staff do a phenomenal job. He owns the company. He's also the vice president of the Houston Roofers Association. He only gets that role because people trust him, and the fact that he passes everything on to you. The best ratings in the business, the best warranties, and the best products. They do everything from a roof repair to an all-new roof on your business or your home. They can also do home repairs, fences in your yard, and so much more. And you get a free no obligation inspection just by picking up the phone. 832-521-3001. Fitz Roofing, making a difference one home at a time.
So as we mentioned, Chris Wallace's resume speaks for itself. He's built teams. He's built competitive teams. And we've also talked about Rafael Stone. We've speculated on how much leash a guy like that might have, considering his inexperience. In your opinion, what do you think the odds are that Wallace may end up being the next Rockets GM?
I think depending on what he does, I think that everyone in the basketball operations side of the business is being evaluated by what happens in this draft. I wouldn't go so far as to say it's make or break, but it's pretty darn important as to how they handle this draft, this offseason, and how they juggle the rebuild that's going on currently there at the Toyota Center. I'm going to tell you there's another name, and I'm going to tell you right now it's a name that you have to keep an eye on, and a lot of Rockets fans will be happy about if there is such an opening, or there's an opening even above them. Look for the name Dennis Lindsey. Dennis Lindsey was a disciple of Carroll Dawson. Dennis Lindsey was being groomed for the Rockets GM job when Daryl Morey came in, thanks to Les Alexander, and was put in the position. Dennis Lindsey has built the Utah Jazz. He is the president of basketball operations, and he has been phenomenal. But Danny Ainge, after he left the Celtics, is a guy that's being rumored to be very, very favorable with Utah in their front office, their ownership, and they might want to make a switch because the Jazz got bounced early. It could be a massive benefit to the Rockets, and if it's not Wallace, I would think that a guy that the Fertittas would have to look at would be a guy like Dennis Lindsey.
Well, that would be phenomenal to be able to bring in a guy, including Wallace, into the organization. I think that would make us feel a lot better about the future of the organization and kind of their decision-making going forward. Speaking of that front office, I have to tell you, I was surprised hearing the news about Matt Bullard being elevated into a front office position. Not because we don't like Matt Bullard. Matt's, a fan favorite for sure. It's just interesting that, the first news we heard of Bullard over the offseason was that he was not getting his contract renewed. And then now we're seeing him being elevated into a front office position. What do you make of Matt Bullard being in the front office?
I think it's interesting. He's going to have dual roles. I think that he's always been an analytics kind of guy, and having worked with him directly with all the broadcasts while I was there, I know that Matt understands the game. Matt has that kind of perspective that a lot of the older players don't have, which is they're willing to embrace analytics and all the numbers that go with the eye test with the game. And then he's also going to be doing a lot of work on the community relations side and making appearances appearances and speaking engagements for the team. And that's something that they sorely need. That's going to help them as well. And Matt's an asset because he's a Rocket at heart, and he wants the best for this franchise. The fact that they were able to take someone from the old school championship days and reinsert him into two different positions with the franchise can only help them in terms of their overall imaging, and it'll probably help them because of his knowledge of analytics with the basketball side.